From Microsoft expanding accessibility to Lewd games losing Steam, we have the latest headlines from across the game industry, so let's load them up and dive right in. Word's been circling the drain lately that the Entertainment Software Rating Board would be putting an end to its short-form applications this coming June. An end to the service would mean indie developers without the budget for the long-term process would be in a bit of a pickle publishing their digital titles on consoles. Fortunately, a representative of the board cleared up some of the confusion. We expect that an ESRB rating solution will be available to all developers of console downloadable games at no cost to them without interruption, they said. Despite what some developers may have heard, we do not yet have a hard date for when the ESRB short-form process will be retired. They go on to mention that they keep the community updated when any new information surfaces. The International Age Rating Coalition is available for developers to handle their digital rating needs and cover more than just the North American market. So you can sleep easy knowing that if the ESRB retires their system, it'll be because there's a better method on the table for developers to utilize. Microsoft has taken a huge step for inclusivity in the industry. Their newly unveiled adaptive controller is a customizable solution for gamers with limited mobility, supporting a variety of external switches, buttons, mounts, and joysticks that can be swapped in or out at the user's discretion. Microsoft has been developing the controller for years and took a lot of feedback from the accessibility community to ensure it provides the flexibility and versatility necessary to support a wide spectrum of possible players. Microsoft's Phil Spencer is particularly proud of the project, calling it not only an important product, but an important initiative for the industry at large. He's certainly not wrong on that assessment. While the controller won't be adopted by the mainstream market, it opens up the medium to more people who couldn't otherwise enjoy it, which is all it needs to do. Cliff Bleszinski announced this week that his studio, Boss Key Productions, is closing its doors after 4 years of business. He shared that the release of Radical Heights in April was the last-ditch effort to keep the company afloat after its debut title struggled to find its foothold. The future might have looked different if Lawbreakers didn't launch in the shadow of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, but unfortunately the game failed to generate enough revenue for the team to dedicate any more resources to it going forward. With Cliff's background boasting 2 decades at Epic Games working on notable AAA titles, this studio closure is a bleak reminder that name recognition and talent isn't always enough to stay in business. It looks like Sony's PlayStation Vita is on its way out too. The company revealed to developers that they'll be ending production on all game cards for the system by the close of the 2018 fiscal year. Any further product code requests should be submitted by no later than June 28th, and final purchase orders should be entered by February 15th of next year to be eligible for physical releases. This news won't come as a surprise to many though. While the console had legs in the Japanese market, North America and Europe didn't give the handheld much love after its first couple years on the shelves. Sony says digital distribution will continue undisturbed, but it's clear that this call is ushering in the end of the platform. So if you want to get your game on what is likely Sony's last dedicated handheld device, launch now before the iron goes cold. A new modding solution is now available. Released by Diabolical, Mod.io is an API that allows developers to easily provide options for players to produce mods of their content. It's being built off the company's previous work on ModDB and IndieDB, and can be considered an evolution of their work, which in their words, empowers developers to take control of their potential for growth and player retention. CEO and co-creator Scott says that the tool removes barriers and makes creating, curating, and sharing mods more accessible while giving developers more freedom to interact with their fans. This is reflected by one of Mod.io's perks, which enables companies to build modding communities that aren't locked down to a designated marketplace like Steam. According to their website, the new API works with consoles, PC, and mobile across premium and free-to-play games alike. There's also plugin support for Unity, Unreal, Lumberyard, and Game Maker Studio 2. So if you have a game that lends itself well to modding, you might want to poke around with Mod.io and see if it's a good fit for what you'd like to do. Election day is on the horizon, ladies and gentlemen, and political powerhouse Brisk Rubel is looking to run for office. Specifically, the lobbyist and lawyer is looking to take on a position among the Council of Stellar Management in EVE Online. The council in question is the game's pseudo-governing body made up of members of its community that's elected annually by paying players. While Brisk Rubel's up against folks of higher in-game status and influencers in the YouTube and esports circuits, he brings real-world experience to the table that could give him an edge. In his own words, if you replace government with CCP, union members with player base, and country with game world, I'm already basically a CSM. It's literally my day job. With today's political landscape being nothing short of a joke, now's a better time than any to build a political platform for your own game and capitalize on the comedy for yourself. And if you're engaged in the EVE Online community, remember to head to the polls on June 4th to vote for your representative of choice. If suggestive anime girls are your bread and butter, you might want to rethink your business strategy when it comes to Steam. Valve has issued notices to the teams behind such modern classics as Honey Pop and Mutiny, alongside a gaggle of other games. The changes need to be made to their content if they wish to remain on the marketplace. Namely, remove lewd material that could be deemed inappropriate. While some titles have remained up and have time to make the corrections demanded of them, others like the aforementioned Mutiny were outright pulled with this new policy. The studio behind the game, Lupisoft, was dumbfounded by the decision, claiming they worked closely closely with Valve to ensure their game fell within the company's guidelines. While the notion of removing adult-themed material from a storefront accessible to minors makes sense, how it's being handled leaves developers with a lot of questions. Plenty of big-name titles with nudity look to be untouched, while other suggestive indie titles like Christine Love's Lady Killer in a Bind haven't been issued a notice at the time of recording. Whatever the case, you'll want to branch out and launch your adult-themed titles on other platforms while this situation develops. There's a big price to pay for purity, and you don't want to be left eating those costs. Gamestop has a chance to overhaul its operations. With the departure of CEO Michael Mahler after 3 months in the position, the retailer is feeling the pressure from investors to organize a turnaround plan and get business back on track. Hedge fund Tiger Management in particular spoke about their desire to see the retailer sell off various technology brands like ThinkGeek.com to trim the fat. And if they don't heed the advice of those corporate cool cats, they've stated that they'll be redeploying capital towards more attractive investment opportunities. According to a GameStop representative, the retailer is open to playing ball, stating that they have a long track record of communicating with all of their stakeholders and value constructive input to increase their value. What impact any changes might have on the game industry remain to be seen, but with any luck, we might see business heading in a better direction in the months ahead. And that covers this week's lineup, ladies and gentlemen. Was there anything you found particularly insightful? Did we miss something you think should have been covered? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to tune in next time for another newsworthy breakdown.